A rich woman pretended to be her maid, and her fiancé's family treated her that way. On a busy avenue in São Paulo, surrounded by mirrored skyscrapers that reflected the blue sky of a sunny afternoon, Isabela Mendes walked with firm, determined steps. Her high heels echoed off the concrete, attracting the attention of passers-by. At 32 years old, Isabela was the picture of success. Brown hair perfectly arranged in an elegant bun, an impeccably tailored suit, and a posture that exuded confidence. Isabela was CEO of one of the country's largest technology companies, Innovatech Solutions. Her success story was well known in business circles. Coming from a middle-class family, she had built her empire from scratch, with determination, intelligence, and a lot of hard work. Now at 32, she was at the peak of her career, respected by her peers and admired by her employees. As she walked towards her office, Isabela thought about her boyfriend, Rodrigo Almeida. They had been together for almost a year, and their relationship was a perfect blend of passion and mutual understanding. Rodrigo, a successful 35-year-old lawyer, was on a business trip abroad, and Isabela missed him terribly. On entering his office in the penthouse of the Innovatech building, Isabela was greeted by his assistant, Sophia. "Good morning, Ms. Mendes," Sophia greeted with a smile. "Here's your agenda for today and the reports you requested." Isabela smiled back. "Thank you, Sophia. Any news on Rodrigo?" Sophia nodded. "Yes, he sent an email this morning. He said the trip was going well, but that he misses you. Oh, and he mentioned something about his family looking forward to meeting you." Isabela felt a chill in her stomach. Meeting Rodrigo's family was an important step, and she was nervous about the prospect. Despite her business confidence, Isabela still carried insecurities from her humble childhood. "Sophia," Isabela said, making a sudden decision, "cancel my appointments for the next few days. I think I'll pay Rodrigo's family a surprise visit." Sophia looked surprised but nodded. "Of course, Ms. Mendes. Shall I inform Mr. Almeida?" Isabela shook her head. "No, I want it to be a surprise for everyone. I'll get ready and leave today." With that, Isabela began to plan her trip. Rodrigo's family lived in a town in the interior of São Paulo, about 3 hours' drive from the capital. She decided to drive there, wanting time to think and prepare herself mentally. While packing a small suitcase, Isabela reflected on her decision. Why was she so nervous? She was a successful, intelligent, and confident woman. But something inside her was bothering her. Perhaps it was the fear of not being accepted, of being judged for her humble origins. It was then that a daring idea occurred to her. What if she didn't present herself as the successful CEO she was? What if she went there dressed simply, without all the outward signs of her success? It would be an opportunity to see how Rodrigo's family really treated people, without the veneer of social etiquette. With this decision in mind, Isabela swapped her elegant suit for simple jeans and a white t-shirt. She removed all her makeup and tied her hair up in an unpretentious ponytail. Looking in the mirror, she hardly recognized herself. It was like going back in time to the days when she was just an ambitious young woman, struggling to make her way in the world. With her heart racing and a mixture of excitement and apprehension, Isabela picked up her simple suitcase and set off towards the Almeida family home. The journey was long and gave Isabela time to think. She watched the landscape gradually change from the bustling metropolis to green fields and small country towns. Every kilometer she traveled made her more nervous, but also more determined. Finally, after a 3-hour drive, Isabela reached the town of Campos do Jordão, where Rodrigo's family lived. It was a picturesque town, known for its European-inspired architecture and mild climate. The streets were lined with leafy trees and elegant houses. Following the instructions Rodrigo had once given her, Isabela found the Almeida house. It was an imposing mansion with manicured gardens and a facade that screamed wealth and status. For a moment, Isabela hesitated. Was she doing the right thing? But it was too late to turn back. With trembling legs, she approached the gate and rang the bell. Seconds later, a female voice answered the intercom. "Almeida residence, what can I do for you?" Isabela took a deep breath before answering. "Good afternoon, I'm a friend of Rodrigo's. I've come for a visit. I've come to pay a visit." There was a pause before the voice replied, "1 moment, please." The gate opened with an electric hum, and Isabella entered the property. She walked along the stone path to the front door, admiring the meticulously tended gardens. The door opened, revealing a middle-aged woman, elegantly dressed and with a look of suspicion in her eyes. This was Marcia Almeida, Rodrigo's mother. "Yes," Marcia said, her tone cold and distant. Isabella smiled, trying to look as friendly as possible. "Hello, I'm a friend of Rodrigo's. He mentioned he'd be traveling and I thought I'd pay a surprise visit to meet his family." Marcia examined Isabella from top to bottom, her gaze lingering on the visitor's simple clothes and uncluttered appearance. Her face contorted into an expression of mild disgust. "Oh, I see," Marcia said, her tone changing to something bordering on disdain. "You must be the new maid Rodrigo mentioned hiring. Come in, come in. The kitchen's that way." Isabella was momentarily speechless. She hadn't expected to be mistaken for a maid, but she quickly realized that this was a unique opportunity. She decided, in the heat of the moment, not to correct the misunderstanding. "Thank you, ma'am," Isabella replied, entering the house. The inside of the mansion was just as impressive as the outside. Expensive furniture, works of art on the walls, and a crystal chandelier in the entrance hall created an atmosphere of opulence. Marcia led Isabella into the kitchen, where a young woman was busy preparing what looked like dinner. "Camilla," Marcia called out, "this is the new assistant Rodrigo has hired. Show her your tasks and where things are. I need to finish getting ready for dinner." With that, Marcia left the kitchen, leaving Isabella alone with Camilla. The young maid looked at Isabella curiously. "Hi, I'm Camilla," she introduced herself with a shy smile. "Are you—" Isabella hesitated for a moment before replying, "Isabella. Nice to meet you, Camilla." The two women looked at each other for a moment, and Isabella felt an immediate connection with Camilla. There was something about the way the young woman carried herself, a mixture of kindness and resignation, that touched Isabella deeply. "So," Camilla began, looking a little confused, "Rodrigo didn't tell me he was hiring a new assistant. Do you have experience in domestic work?" Isabella thought quickly. "Actually, it's my first job in this area. I'm trying something new." Camilla smiled understandingly. "Don't worry, I'll teach you everything you need to know. The Almeida family can be a bit demanding, but you'll get used to it." As Camilla showed Isabella the details of the kitchen and explained the routines of the house, Isabella watched intently. She noticed how Camilla spoke in a low voice, almost whispering, and how her eyes often turned to the door, as if she expected to be reprimanded at any moment. "Camilla," Isabella asked softly, "have you been working here long?" The young woman nodded. "Almost 5 years. I started right after I finished high school. I needed to help my family and, well, there aren't many opportunities here." Isabella felt a pang of compassion. She remembered her own struggle, the days when she barely had enough money to eat, let alone study. It was at that moment that she decided that her little farce could have a greater purpose. "I see," Isabella said. "It can't be easy." Camilla shrugged, but Isabella could see the sadness in her eyes. "You get used to it. Donna Marcia and Seu Carlos aren't bad bosses, just a bit distant. Rodrigo is always kind when he's at home, but that doesn't happen very often." Just then, Marcia's voice echoed through the house. "Camilla, where's the tea I asked for?" Camilla startled. "Sorry, I have to go. Feel free to familiarize yourself with the kitchen. I'll show you where to sleep later." As Camilla hurried off with a tray of tea, Isabella stood alone in the kitchen, absorbing everything that had happened. She couldn't believe the situation she found herself in. As CEO of a large company, she was used to being treated with respect and deference. Now dressed simply and mistaken for a maid, she was experiencing a side of life she had long since left behind. Isabella decided to use this opportunity to observe and learn. She wanted to better understand not only Rodrigo's family, but also the dynamics of power and prejudice that still existed in society. Over the next few days, Isabella immersed herself in her role as a maid. She helped Camilla with the housework, observed the family's interactions, and, most importantly, experienced firsthand what it was like to be treated as someone from a lower social class. Marcia, Rodrigo's mother, was particularly difficult. She treated Isabella and Camilla with a mixture of indifference and disdain, rarely addressing them directly and often making disparaging comments about their work. "These girls simply don't understand the concept of proper cleaning," Marcia complained one day, running her finger over a piece of furniture that Isabella had just cleaned. "That's why you can't trust these kind of people to do a decent job." Isabella bit her tongue, fighting the urge to reply. She wondered how Rodrigo, always so kind and respectful, could have been brought up by someone like that. Carlos, Rodrigo's father, was a more distant figure. He spent most of his time in his office, only leaving for meals. When he interacted with the maids, it was with an air of barely disguised superiority. One day, while Isabella was cleaning Carlos's office, she couldn't help but notice the books on his shelves. Many were about business ethics and social responsibility. The irony didn't escape her. "Interested in reading, girl?" Carlos's voice surprised her. Isabella turned around to find him standing in the doorway. "Sorry, sir. I was just admiring your collection." Carlos laughed, a humorless sound. "I doubt you'd understand half of what's written there. But it's nice to see a maid with an interest beyond gossip and social media." Isabella felt her blood boil, but kept her composure. "You'd be surprised what people can understand when they get the chance, sir." Carlos raised an eyebrow, looking momentarily puzzled, before dismissing her with a wave of his hand. As the days went by, Isabella got closer and closer to Camilla. The two would spend hours chatting while doing their chores, and Isabella discovered that the young woman had dreams and ambitions that went far beyond being a maid. "I always wanted to study administration," Camilla confessed one evening, while the two of them were washing the dishes for dinner. "But with my family's situation, well, some people are born lucky, others aren't." Isabella felt her heart squeeze. "It's never too late to pursue your dreams, Camilla. Believe in yourself." Camilla smiled sadly. "It's easy to say, but how could I afford college? And even if I could, who would hire someone like me for a management position?" At that moment, Isabella made a silent promise to herself. When all this farce was over, she would do something to help Camilla. She knew what it was like to fight against the odds, and she was determined to give Camilla the chance she deserved. Meanwhile, Rodrigo's absence weighed heavily on Isabella. She missed his gentle smile, his stimulating conversations, his caring touch. Several times she almost gave in to the temptation to call him and reveal everything, but something stopped her. She needed to see this through to the end. One evening, about a week after his arrival, Isabella was in the kitchen preparing tea for Marcia, when she heard excited voices coming from the living room. Curious, she quietly approached the door. "I can't believe you haven't met this Isabella." Marcia's voice sounded irritated. "Rodrigo, my son, you need to be careful. These businesswomen are all the same. They're only after your money and status." Isabella felt her heart squeeze as she heard Rodrigo's voice reply, "Mom, please. Isabella isn't like that. She's incredible, intelligent, and successful in her own right. She doesn't need my money or status." Marcia snorted. "They all say that at first, but just wait until she gets her claws into you. Oh, by the way, we've hired the new maid you suggested. A simple girl, but at least she knows her place." Isabella had to stifle a laugh. If only Marcia had known. "What new maid?" The confusion was evident in Rodrigo's voice. "I didn't suggest hiring anyone." There was a moment's silence before Marcia replied, "But she said she was your friend. She came here saying she'd come for a surprise visit." "Mom," Rodrigo said slowly, "don't you think?" At that moment, Isabella decided it was time to intervene. She entered the room carrying the tea tray, finding Marcia and Rodrigo looking at her with shocked expressions. "Your tea, ma'am," Isabella said calmly, placing the tray on the coffee table. Rodrigo was dumbfounded. "Isabella! What? How?" Isabella smiled, feeling a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Hello, Rodrigo, surprise?" Marcia looked from one to the other, her face going from shock to understanding, and then to mortification. Are you Isabella, Rodrigo's girlfriend?" Isabella nodded. "Yes, it's me. I apologize for the mistake, but when I arrived and was mistaken for a maid, I decided not to correct the misunderstanding. I thought it would be an interesting opportunity to get to know your family without the usual formalities." Rodrigo seemed to be struggling for words. "Isabella, I don't know what to say. You've been here all week, working as a maid?" "Yes," Isabella replied, her tone now more serious. And it was a very revealing experience, Rodrigo. Your family. She hesitated, looking at Marcia, who seemed to have shrunk into her armchair. Well, let's just say I learned a lot about how people treat those they consider inferior. Marcia opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Her face was red with shame. Rodrigo ran his hand through his hair, clearly upset. Isabella, I'm sorry. If I'd known it... It's not your fault, Rodrigo. Isabella interrupted him gently. Actually, I'm glad I had that experience. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. At that moment, Carlos entered the room, attracted by the commotion. What's going on here? Isabella turned to face him, her posture changing subtly. She now exuded the confidence and authority of a successful CEO. Good evening, Mr. Almeida. I don't believe we've been properly introduced. I'm Isabella Mendez, CEO of Innovatech Solutions and your son's girlfriend. Carlos paled, his face visibly paling. You are... Yes, Isabella confirmed. The same girl you doubted could understand the books in your library. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcia seemed to want to disappear into her armchair. Carlos was petrified, and Rodrigo looked at Isabella with a mixture of admiration and concern. Isabella took a deep breath before continuing. I didn't come here to cause embarrassment or create conflict. I came because I love your son and wanted to meet your family. But what I experienced this week, well, it was a valuable lesson in prejudice and hasty judgments. She turned to Marcia. Mrs. Almeida, your words and actions towards the maids were painful to witness. Treating people with contempt simply because of their social position is not only cruel, it's short-sighted. Marcia lowered her eyes, unable to meet Isabella's gaze. Isabella then turned to Carlos. And Mr. Almeida, for someone with so many books on ethics and social responsibility, your attitudes leave a lot to be desired. The way you talk to and about your employees is degrading and completely contrary to the principles these books preach. Carlos opened his mouth as if to protest, but then closed it, looking defeated. Rodrigo finally found his voice. Isabella, I don't know what to say. I'm shocked and ashamed of my family's behavior, but I'm also impressed by your courage and integrity. You could have simply left or revealed your identity immediately, but you chose to stay and experience this. Why? Isabella smiled softly at Rodrigo. Because I love you, Rodrigo, and because I believe that people can change, can learn and grow. I myself come from humble beginnings. I know what it's like to be judged and underestimated, but I also know that with opportunity and compassion, people can overcome their prejudices. She turned again to Marcia and Carlos. I'm not here to judge you or to create a rift in the family. I'm here because I want to be part of this family, but a family based on mutual respect and understanding. The silence that followed was broken by a muffled sob. Everyone turned to see Camilla standing in the kitchen doorway, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Camilla stammered. I didn't want to hear, but... Isabella crossed the room and hugged Camilla. It's okay, Camilla. In fact, I'm glad you're here. There's something I want to say to you too. She pulled away a little, keeping her hands on Camilla's shoulders. Camilla, during this week, you've shown me incredible strength and dignity. You have dreams and ambitions, and you deserve the chance to pursue them. So I want to offer you an opportunity. If you're interested, I'd like to offer you a scholarship to study business and an internship at my company after you graduate. Camilla's eyes widened in shock. I don't know what to say. It's a dream. Isabella smiled. Say yes. You deserve it, Camilla. Camilla nodded vigorously, unable to speak through her tears. Rodrigo approached Isabella, taking her hand. You're amazing. You know that. That's why I fell in love with you. Isabella squeezed his hand, feeling moved. Thank you, Rodrigo. I love you. She then turned to Marcia and Carlos, who still looked stunned. I know this is a lot to process. I don't expect everything to change overnight, but I hope we can use this as a starting point to build something better. A family based on respect, understanding, and genuine love. Marcia was the first to react. She slowly got up from her chair, tears in her eyes. Isabella, I don't even know where to begin to apologize. My behavior was unforgivable. Isabella smiled gently. It's not unforgivable, Mrs. Almeida. It's human to make mistakes. The important thing is to recognize them and work to correct them. Carlos sniffed, looking uncomfortable. Ms. Mendez, Isabella, I must admit that I am deeply ashamed. My conduct was, well, it was deplorable. You have every right to be angry with us. I'm not angry, Isabella replied. I'm hopeful. Hopeful that we can all learn from this and grow together. Rodrigo hugged Isabella, kissing her softly. You're incredible, you know that? I can't imagine anyone handling this situation with such grace and compassion. Isabella smiled at him. That's why we make a good team, isn't it? If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment from where you watch. Now let's get back to our story. The days that followed were ones of intense reflection and change in the Almeida household. Marcia, deeply affected by the experience, began to treat Camilla and the other staff in the house with more respect and consideration. She even offered to help Camilla with her studies, discovering in the process that she had a lot to learn from the young woman. Carlos, for his part, delved into his books on business ethics with a fresh eye. He began to implement changes in his own company, focusing on more ethical practices and improving working conditions for his employees. Isabella and Rodrigo used this time to further strengthen their relationship. They had long conversations about their expectations, dreams, and values. Rodrigo expressed his admiration for Isabella's courage and integrity, while she shared how the experience made her value his character even more. You know, Rodrigo said one evening as they walked through the mansion's gardens, I don't think I've ever loved you as much as I do now. What you did was extraordinary. Isabella smiled, squeezing his hand. I feel the same way, Rodrigo. Seeing how you reacted, how you supported the change in your family, it only confirmed what I already knew. You're the man I want to spend the rest of my life with. They hugged and kissed under the moonlight, sealing their commitment of love and partnership. In the months that followed, the Almeida family underwent a remarkable transformation. Marcia, inspired by the experience, began to get involved in volunteer work, helping needy families in the region. She discovered a new passion for helping others, and this brought a different light into her eyes. Carlos, for his part, revolutionized his company. He implemented social responsibility policies, improved working conditions, and even created a scholarship program for employees and their children. He often consulted Isabella for advice on ethical business practices. Camila, with the support of Isabella and the Almeida family, flourished in her studies. She excelled at business school, and her internship at Innovatech Solutions led her to discover a natural talent for project management. Isabella and Rodrigo's wedding day arrived on a beautiful spring afternoon. The garden of the Almeida mansion had been transformed into a fairy tale, with colorful flowers everywhere and delicate lights hanging from the trees. Isabella, radiant in her wedding dress, walked down the makeshift aisle between the guests' chairs. Her father, a simple, hard-working man, led her proudly. In the eyes of everyone present, family, friends, work colleagues, there was admiration and respect. When she reached the altar, where Rodrigo was waiting with an emotional smile, Isabella saw Marcia and Carlos in the front row. Both had tears in their eyes and genuine smiles on their faces. Next to them was Camilla, now no longer a maid, but a dear friend of the family. The celebrant began the ceremony. We are gathered here to celebrate the union of Isabella and Rodrigo, a couple who have taught us a lot about love, compassion, and the capacity for transformation. They have shown us that true love knows no barriers of social class or prejudice, and that with courage and honesty, we can build bridges where there were once walls. Isabella and Rodrigo exchanged emotional vows, promising love, respect, and partnership for life. When they were finally pronounced husband and wife, an explosion of joy and applause echoed through the garden. During the reception, Marcia made an emotional toast. Isabella, when you first arrived at our house, I made the mistake of judging you by your appearance. But you taught us a valuable lesson about character, integrity, and the importance of seeing beyond appearances. Not only did you win my son's heart, but you also changed our family for the better. Welcome to the family, my dear. Carlos also made a speech. Rodrigo, son, you have chosen an extraordinary partner. Isabella, your courage and compassion are an inspiration to us all. You two have reminded us of what really matters in life: love, respect, and the ability to grow and change. May your marriage be as transformative and beautiful as the journey that brought us here." Camilla, now a confident and successful young woman, hugged Isabella with tears in her eyes. "How you changed my life, Isabella. Not only did you give me an opportunity, but you showed me that dreams can come true when we believe in ourselves and have people who believe in us. Thank you for everything." Isabella smiled, touched. "Camilla, you've always had this potential inside you. I just helped open the door. You did all the hard work." The wedding party lasted well into the night, with laughter, dancing, and lively conversation. It was clear to everyone present that they were not only celebrating the union of two people, but also the birth of a new family, united by bonds of love, respect, and mutual understanding. As the evening progressed, Isabella and Rodrigo found a quiet moment together, watching their guests enjoy themselves. "Look at them," Rodrigo said softly, indicating his parents, who were dancing happily with some of the mansion's staff. "Who knew it would come to this?" Isabella smiled, leaning against her now husband's shoulder. "People have an incredible capacity to change and grow when given the chance. Sometimes all we need is a little push in the right direction." Rodrigo kissed the top of her head. "You gave much more than a little push, my love. You've transformed our lives." "We transformed our lives," Isabella corrected gently. "Together. And that's how we'll continue facing whatever challenges life throws at us." In the years that followed, Isabella and Rodrigo built a life filled with love, success, and purpose. Innovatech Solutions, under Isabella's leadership, has become known not only for its technological innovations, but also for its ethical business practices and its commitment to social responsibility. Rodrigo, inspired by Isabella's experience, decided to focus his legal career on discrimination and labor rights cases. Together, they have become a powerful force in the fight for equality and social justice. Marcia, transformed by the experience, devoted herself entirely to volunteer work. She founded a non-profit organization focused on providing educational opportunities for low-income young people. Her work touched countless lives, and she finally found a true sense of fulfillment. Carlos revolutionized his company, implementing progressive human resources policies and corporate social responsibility programs. He has become a sought-after speaker, sharing his journey of personal and business transformation. Camilla, with the continued support of Isabella and the Almeida family, progressed rapidly in her career. She eventually became COO of Innovatech Solutions, working alongside Isabella to lead the company to new heights of success and social impact. One day, about 5 years after their wedding, Isabella and Rodrigo were sitting in the garden of the Almeida mansion, watching their 3-year-old twins play with their grandparents. "Who knew," Isabella murmured, holding Rodrigo's hand, that impulsive decision to pass me off as a maid would bring us here?" Rodrigo smiled, squeezing her hand. "You've always had a gift for seeing the best in people, for seeing potential where others see only limitations. It's one of the many reasons why I love you so much." Isabella looked at her reunited family, her children, her now much-changed in-laws, Camilla, who had become like a sister to her. She felt a wave of gratitude and love so intense that it almost took her breath away. "You know," she said softly, "I think we all have this potential within us, to change, to grow, to become better versions of ourselves. Sometimes all we need is someone to believe in us and give us a chance." Rodrigo nodded, pulling her closer. "And sometimes we need someone brave enough to show us our own blindness and challenge us to be better." They were silent for a moment, absorbing the scene before them. The sound of their children's laughter, the sight of Marcia and Carlos happily playing with the children, so different from the cold and distant people they were before. "I think the lesson we've learned," Isabella reflected, "is that true love, whether between a couple, a family, or even in a company, is about seeing beyond appearances, about giving people the chance to be their best version." Rodrigo agreed, "and about having the courage to face our own prejudices and limitations." At that moment, as the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Isabella felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. She knew that her journey, hers and Rodrigo's, the whole family's, was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead, more opportunities for growth and learning, but she also knew that together they could face anything. Because they had learned the most important lesson of all, that love, compassion and the courage to see beyond appearances have the power to transform not just individuals, but entire families, companies and perhaps even the world. And so, dear readers, we come to the end of this moving story. A story that reminds us that each and every one of us has the power to make a difference, to challenge prejudices, and to build bridges where there were once walls. May the adventures of Isabella, Rodrigo and their family inspire us to look beyond appearances, to treat everyone with respect and dignity, and to believe in the potential for transformation that exists in each and every one of us. Because in the end, true wealth doesn't lie in material goods or social status, but in the ability to love, to grow, and to make a difference in the lives of others. And this is a lesson that Isabella and Rodrigo will carry with them forever, passing it on to their children and to all those whose lives they touch. And so, with hearts full of hope and eyes set on a bright future, Isabella and Rodrigo continued their journey together, knowing that the best was yet to come.